Yes, we're live. Marnie, Tuesday
Jason.
night. I missed you guys last week. I missed the show.
Yes.
I haven't even watched it yet. Can you believe it? I haven't had time yet.
There was a lot going on. We missed you very much. So how was your trip? How was your trip to Florida, Jason?
It was lovely. We ate a lot of seafood and I sat and stared at the ocean, and we avoided some of I was looking for some Florida weirdness, but I think we were in a pretty antiseptic tourist place. So that was probably for the best. So, hey, joining us from, I just said on Facebook, parts unknown, but Guadalajara, Mexico, is Mike Hance. Mike, hola.
Welcome. Buenas noches.
Buenas noches. Buenas tardes. Okay, Mike, we've got many questions. But let's just start with, how long have you lived in Guadalajara? How did you get there?
I had to leave Colombia, and I've been here about 4 months now.
I love all the implications that go along with I had to leave Colombia. You want to shed any light on that or leave it as mysterious?
Oh, COVID it's worse in countries where there's not a lot of meat on the bone, or at least as much. And I had set up a little animation studio in the garage that would open up to the street, and we could have screenings. But all the homeless people moved in, and they tried to kidnap my dog, and they would come and they would bang on the window at 2 in the morning for food, and they terrified me. I even kept a rusty machete under the desk. There's a lot of great things about Colombia, but there are also a lot of serious problems too, because I had gone there to start a business, and the business laws are about 30 years behind, and the banking system is the worst I've ever experienced. I had sufficient money to live and start a business waiting, and they would put holds on wire transfers because they can do that without a reason under suspicion of narcotics trafficking, which is according to their treaty with the US, but they do it so they can later get a more favorable exchange rate or extort you or just be a general terror that destroys your life. I had my power cut off and was living by candles and eating tortillas 4 times because they kept the money flow from happening.
I feel like we're trending toward KHOP88's least favorite topic, which is cryptocurrency.
We have to go there.
Before we get there, let's back up. You had an animation studio set up in your garage, but when people ask you what do you tell them that you do for a living these days?
It's a transmedia studio, so I'm finishing my book, and I do animation, which is what I ended up getting my degree in, and I had the opportunity to leave the States and start what I'd always wanted to do, so I took it.
And which is transmedia, which is all across, book publishing, video, etc.
Yeah, you put hyperlinks in your books, you do audio recordings. I've worked with musicians, animators, artists, all telling the same story in one big project.
I have to delve into the word transmedia because I've never heard it before right now. What is the difference between transmedia and multimedia?
It depends. I think transmedia, you follow significant parts of the story through other medias. So like I have song lyrics that tell part of the story, and then there's the book's promoted through an animated short and different things, and you contain links, but each part is separate in its own. So I think transmedia is probably more an academic term than anything else.
So you finished a book. You mentioned this in the pre-show. Can you tell us what kind of book, what it's about, and what part of the process you're in right now?
I am in edits now, which is pretty painful, but yeah, it's an interlocking suite of short stories that feature the same cast, and it's modular. It's based on a lot of kind of the old pulp fiction from the 1930s mixed in with some magical realism from Latin America like Marquez, Donoso, and the great Julio Cortázar.
Ooh, yes.
Is it transmedia or is it just a regular old book?
It's transmedia because you scan QR codes in a couple places.
Okay.
So it has
Cool.
intermission music, and then it has at the end you scan a QR code and it gives you a end credit title roll like a movie.
And you said it's about to be printed in Hong Kong.
Yeah, I tried a whole bunch of places in the United States, but I'm using this print process that hasn't been used much since the 1960s. Instead of using 4 colors, I'm just using 2 and semi-metallic inks. So it's very strange, but it's going to be pretty. Each page is going to look like a little treasure map when I'm done.
Wow.
What
So do you
color?
consider that a graph? I mean, yeah, I hate, it seems like we keep trying to compartmentalize you here, Mike. Would you consider it a graphic novel, or is it its own kind of thing?
I have a few sequential pages, but it's mostly text.
Okay.
I think I want a big problem in terms of book sales is getting men reading again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, not to say that there's anything wrong with any type of given literature, but like you look at 50 Shades of Grey, Bridges of Madison County, Harry Potter, all of it's really, the bestsellers are really drawn by strong female sales. And part of the problem is as I travel around and try to develop social life with other guys is that guys aren't reading and they're just so much harder to talk to. So I kind of, it's my mission to kind of bring guys back and use some old historical trends in publishing and have a lot of action and stuff that will bring them in.
That's interesting. I do that. Like, I just got back from vacation, and sort of the standard, I usually read on a Kindle for fun. But when I go on vacation and I don't want to bring it to the beach or whatever, I go to the used bookstore and get, the little mass market paperbacks. And I figure I'm not really helping the publishing industry out much by doing that, but it works, right? Because then if I leave it in the airplane or whatever, I don't really care.
Oh, anything. I mean, supporting small little bookstores is pretty great.
So what's the title of the book? And I know we're still early in the process, but is there a way people will be able to get it?
Oh yeah, it'll be through Amazon and everywhere, and it will be on Kindle, and it'll be simultaneous released in Spanish as well. 5 Silver Bullets and the Tumbler of Scotch is the title, and I mean it's strong terror with science fiction and fantasy elements.
That's
and
cool.
Yeah, so I have this little structure of short stories, and you had mentioned in the previous cast about choose your own adventure books. That's part of the bringing guys into reading. It's a choose your own adventure book, but I integrated a drinking game and some audio and some other elements into it.
Oh, wow.
Using footnotes. So I have bartenders from 3 countries have contributed recipes. So you get 24 cocktail recipes when you buy the book.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay,
Yeah,
I can't wait for this to be out. This is great.
Yep.
What
so
do you?
When?
What?
When will it be out?
I am shooting for sometime between, I'm gonna have to do it push till after Christmas, so I'm hoping by April. So
Okay.
it's gonna be about a year.
Okay.
Yeah, that publishing process takes forever.
Mhm.
What were you reading when we were in high school? Do you remember what your favorite books were, or what inspired you to kind of go into this work when we were growing up?
Well, I was a big fan of Mr. Mossberg. And then there's a guy I can't remember who looked like Abraham Lincoln who turned me on to Melville.
That could be Borgerding.
No, Roman and I had our little colorful conflicts, yeah.
Nice.
People love him, but I don't know, I kind of ran in the opposite direction.
What do you like about Melville?
I mean, Bartleby the Scrivener and Moby Dick with that whale stuff edited out is pretty groovy to me.
I read Moby Dick in college when we had a class. It's sort of similar to what you're talking about. Men reading, what's called the white male writers. So the first semester was white male writers and the second semester was black women writers.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
It was an interesting year-long course.
Yeah. A big fan of some of the Alice Walkers of the world for sure.
So Mossberg, I brought him up. He was one of my favorite teachers. I'm surprised he hasn't come up more. What do you remember about his class and what did you like about it?
I don't know. He seemed to genuinely care and be free and very supportive of different things. I think I did a dance in a leisure suit to Xanadu when we read the poem.
Oh, I have a memory of this.
Oh,
You were there?
I'm not sure I was in the class, but there was talk about it.
What did you like about it?
Your suit to Xanadu when we read the good guy.
The memory of this.
Marnie, do you have the Facebook
Oh,
page up?
sorry. No,
Okay.
I was I was having a multimedia problem.
A transmedia problem. The thing that Mossberg I read is looked up his obit. It's a pretty short obit, I think, but he you know, teaching was his second profession. He was like an interior, he was a buyer for Dayton's in the interiors department there. And so he literally traveled the world buying rugs and textiles and, you know, lamps and furniture for Dayton's, and then decided he heard the calling of becoming a teacher, which amazed me. He had all this patience for our shenanigans. But yeah, he was. Go ahead.
I'm glad I didn't give him PTSD, but he was a good guy.
Right.
Have you ever been a teacher, Mike?
That's kind of my sideline now is teaching English to students in China. I will actually only have one guy in Taiwan until I get certified, but that is coming up next month.
How do you get certified to teach English there?
It's two certifications. There's a whole bunch of, you can get either a CELTA or a TEFL certification, and there's dozens of companies that offer them, and taking it online now because of COVID. So, and
Wow.
it's good money, and I can do it anywhere in the world. So as I travel on my book tour.
Yeah. Now, are you teaching English from the ground up, or is it more like they have the fundamentals and you're teaching them conversational?
Well, some cases are more challenging than others, but usually it's the kids and their parents are there, and it's most of the time it's fun and relaxed, and everybody really wants to learn, and they have lots of questions and curiosity.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I know that that was a thing to do after college, was to go to Japan, I guess, and teach conversational English. And they're like, you don't need to know any Japanese.
Yeah, but the market's saturated, so you have to be certified, and it's 4 to 6 week courses, and it can be super intense. The CELTA certification is actually kind of organized and administered by Cambridge and is pretty rigorous.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So do you speak Chinese?
No, I a little Spanish, but I do drawings, and through not knowing Spanish and having so it's, yeah, I do whatever I can to communicate. I'm really feel vindicated that my stage motion class has become so important in my life, because my dad thought it was a complete waste of money.
Yeah, I bet. Where did you take that? Where did you take stage? Right.
That is one of the 12 colleges I went to before I got my degree at Eastern New Mexico University.
Okay, we need to talk about the 12 colleges. This is fantastic. Okay, so
I only went to 5.
5, that's pretty good. Okay,
Name
leaving high school did you go right to college after high school?
No, I kind of got distracted and bombed my senior year, so I had to spend a couple semesters in Normaldale, which I hated. Just like it was like a prison with the brutalistic architecture and everything. Then I felt liberated, and I went to Prescott, Arizona, hour north of Phoenix, which is a experimental school based on the ideas of John Dewey about
Yeah.
experiential and self-directed education. And that was freshman orientation, was a 3-week nature hike, and I fell and got stuck between a cliff for 2.5 hours. I was accosted by wild boars in my mummy sack. But the school there, it was 90% of the people went into the forestry service, so I wasn't really a good place for literature and arts. So I had visited Arizona State while I was in Arizona, and once I saw the girls in the Frank Lloyd Wright architecture, I was there. But between the two, I spent a quarter in London through Lakewood and Community College and Imperial College. Then I went to Arizona State for 2 years and had all kinds of jobs and worked in the art. But that was that was a challenge. The state lost $4 billion because of that crazy sheriff they had down there, and they stopped building the computer department.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I left Arizona, but there was a period in Arizona where Arizona State lost my financial aids, and I had to go to 4 different colleges. So that's where I really bump up my numbers and take lead over you, Marnie. Is that I had to go to Phoenix College, Maricopa County College, Mesa Community College, and another one I can't even bloody remember.
Wow.
So then I came back and went to Minneapolis Community College, and then I went to Metro State College in Denver and moved back to where my mom's home city, and finally got a degree in computer imaging and animation.
Oh, wow. I can imagine how stage movement would affect animators, right? Like that seems to be a natural.
Well, yeah, it's also good when you don't speak the language and you're desperately trying to communicate with people.
Right.
And when
I've had entire relationships collapse on Google Translate and pantomime.
I believe it.
Oh yeah, particularly, and then the wild days in Medellin. Oh my God, something else.
So how did you how did you end up in Medellin? I've only heard you pronounce it Medellin. I've heard it Medellin, but
yeah, I mean, either way, yeah.
How did you end up down there, and how long did you live there?
Well, I was there for 3 years. There were a couple creative co-working spaces. The state had just won an award from the Wall Street Journal for all the innovative things they were doing to fight poverty. There I saw a photo of a capybara, which is like a 150-pound rodent that looked like my dad. Everything seemed to be pointing to Colombia.
You heard capybara.
Yeah, it was a great thing. And it's also a world center for digital nomads.
Oh, okay. So there's are there a lot of Americans there?
Peak there, it varies depending on the time. There's 10 to 40,000 there pretty much year round. So it's a significant thing. You think the banks would learn to speak English, but
No, they don't need to.
So I joined a OWRP. I started to build my anime. I had built a special 5-foot by 5-foot animation glass stand with 3 panes that you would animate by smearing paint. And there were a lot of great graffiti artists. So I kind of had a plan, but with some of the grievances before, and then I got distracted by the tremendous amount of hedonism that the city offers when business wasn't working out too well.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are, in Latin America, it's really common to have love motels because you stay with your parents until you're married. So there were 5 times the number of love motels in Medellin than there are in Guadalajara. And the prostitution is legal. It's off the chain. There's a full company that all the wealthy gringos go down there, and they offer helicopter picnics for the guys who want to try and pick up women. It's kind of a reputation there.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, I see a special guest in the corner. One of the mystery guests was.
Oh, Dr. Aribe, venga. Oh, he's being stubborn. He's protecting us. I'll get him in a minute.
We'll
Oh,
have to
okay.
say hello in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, some guys have checked in who you're familiar with. Jim Sexton, Quolseth is here. Chad Alt. Chad Alt wonders, could the Abe lookalike be Paul Noreen?
That might be it.
That might be it.
Yeah, I mean, he's a dead ringer. Here we are. This is Dr. Aribe.
He's pretty quiet. He seems like a pretty relaxed roommate.
Oh, no. For other people, yeah, you can be a real terror. That was another reason why I went to Colombia. I neglected to mention was I had a compound double hernia and I saved enough money to buy a car and pay for my plane ticket by getting the surgery done in Colombia.
Oh, I see.
So Dr. Aribe is named for the doctor who kind of saved my life. Because I was about 3 months out from the hernia kind of killing me.
Oh my goodness.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Socialized medicine, obviously down there. What was it good? Were you?
Oh,
Did you
best
feel
best
safe and
doctor
well
I've
cared
ever
for?
had. I had
Really?
lunch with my doctors. I mean, it's friendly, it's humane. I mean, here they start selling samples through students in the medical academies, and it becomes a commercial industry really, really early. And my doctors were trained in Texas, Paris, and Barcelona, and they were just friendly, and it's the best healthcare I've ever had.
Oh, that's so interesting. And so
Yeah.
the dog, did he find you or did you find him?
I saw a photo of him online, and I just knew.
You just knew.
Yeah.
Can you adopt capybaras? Is that what they're called?
Capybaras, yeah. I wanted to get some, but they're more into the south of the country, and I never really left Medellin too much.
Oh, I see.
Hmm.
Well, Chad Alt asks one of the questions that we often ask, and that is whether you have any musical interests. I'm trying to remember. Were you in Madrigal's choir with Chad at Hopkins?
No, I was never that good, but I was in choir with him.
Okay.
I carried, I sang in college. I sang in 3 other choirs outside of high school. So I really enjoy that. And I do DJ. And in fact, I tried to open a company where I would DJ for a while, but that kind of fell apart. So I have a little mask and a DJ costume, and funk, soul, and jazz are mostly my things right now. But
Okay.
old music all around.
Did you have a DJ name?
Yes, I DJ under the names The Unknown Hobo and DJ Death Fez.
Okay, good to know.
What's the music scene like in Guadalajara?
Guadalajara, well, I mean, since I've been here, there's been nothing.
COVID, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, there were some amazing bands from Colombia, particular Monsieur Perinet. But yeah, I think they've gone to reggaeton now and forsaken their rich musical and reggaeton.
Yeah.
Let's
pretty rough.
Let's combine the plodding mono rhythms of reggae with the worst violent false aspirational hip hop you possibly can, and because that's not terrible enough, let's throw in the vocoder from Cher's Beliefs, because no one can sing when they do this crap. all the young people listen to it. Oh my God, you're torturing me. It's so stupid.
It's not great.
I'd get like cumbia and salsa, and I took salsa lessons. And
oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Do you like dancing?
I mean, no, but in Colombia, you're required to learn it in school.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to go out, and the salsa clubs are really, really fun. And once you get enough of it to relax a little bit, it is a blast. In fact, my last roommate in Colombia was a percussionist who ran a salsa band.
Oh, fun. Do you remember learning square dancing at North Junior High?
Oh, didn't they do something where they brought the parents in for it?
I don't remember that part. I just remember square dance class, and we had to like touch clammy boys.
Oh, yeah.
There was a rich tradition of square dancing in Hopkins. I mean, it goes back to elementary school. I remember I
Really?
remember being very, yeah. Yeah, what, didn't we talk about this in some previous episode? It's a
Square
weird,
dancing? Maybe.
yeah, and why that even was a thing. It had to do
I-
with some grant, of course, you know.
I might not have been there. It might have been on one of my trips to Oregon. Back to you, Mike. What do you, okay, one of our common questions, I really enjoyed the sketch you did what you're about Hopkins High. Everyone loved it. I put it online. Do you have anything you want to share about Hop, like a funny memory,
I'm trying to think specifically about Hopkins High. I mean, most of what I remember was there was a little alley in the arts department where I would go hang out. Dave Graves, Brad Herman, sometimes Kyle Hansen, Dave McCullough, Jim Orndorff, Jason Redepenning, and we had people that worked at Schindler's. We had people who worked at First Avenue. So it was just like really rich, getting all the visual and musical culture that we would have in our little summit in that room. That's probably my favorite and fondest memory.
That's a bunch of guys who really couldn't be restrained from being downtown and like part of the scene that they were not restrained by our, you know, living in Hopkins and Minnetonka. They were on Hennepin Avenue. They were, right. Those guys were into bands long before I had ever heard of that.
Yeah, I remember Matt Dudley published his own little music magazine out of one of the offices in the school, mimeographing it. And the guy who was helping him wore one of those red jackets. Was that Decca or what was that?
Yeah, we've talked about that. That is Decca, yeah. Oh, it amazed, I mean, that's the thing that I was too young to consider the possibilities, but yeah, you could totally publish a zine at Hopkins High using school resources, right? That would have been a relatively
he
easy.
sold it. He got listed in national magazines, and in high school he was getting a dozen records to review a week.
Wow.
So we had all this music, and we would make tapes, and it was fun. And then that's the birth of hip hop. You know, punk was still around. Just a really, really great time that I don't know that we'll be able to replicate for music and creativity.
No, I totally agree. It's funny because the concept of the mixtape comes up among my friends quite a bit, and you would think almost because distribution over the internet is so much easier that sharing music, you know, would be as rich, but it's not. There's for some reason there's nothing that can replicate the experience of making a mixtape, right, and sharing it with your friends or giving it to a girl that you want to impress or something like that.
Or like I was thinking, like the similar thing is now the way we consume all those great 80s movies is entirely different too. It's like two couples like blasted standing in front of binging things for hours through streaming channels. Intimate social cinema is dead too, and the communal and cultural experience of film is really not the same anymore either.
That is true. Barney, I remember going with you to see a movie at the Parkway on Chicago 48th in Chicago once, because Minneapolis had all those great independent movie theaters.
I always enjoyed films, and now we can drink beer and watch our movies too, which I like.
At the movie theater, yeah.
Yeah, I was really glad when Denver brought in the Alamo Draft House. That was a real treat. Or another high school memory.
Okay, here we go.
Alert!
At the Uptown, they were screening M3D, which was the only 3D adult film ever made, at least up to that time. And Kyle Hansen brought in a squirt gun full of Jergens lotion.
Ew.
Yeah, he was famous for that for quite a long time. We all left for fear of getting busted after on, but he still to this day has major props for that.
Whoa.
Kyle again was a step ahead. He was or a step apart.
Of our era.
Yeah. All right, well, we've covered, were there other teachers aside from Mossberg and perhaps Noreen that had an impact?
Mossberg, Noreen, Vern Anderson. I have vague memories of Dorothy Welch, the challenge coordinator, but I think maybe that was more of a nemesis. I'm not entirely sure.
I think love-hate relationship with Dot Welch was pretty common. I had one on myself, I think.
Oh, yeah. I watched the film Pink Flamingos, and I described it as worse than being in a hot tub of vomit with Dorothy Welch.
Oh, all right. That's not helpful.
Oh, I apologize, ladies. The first NC-17 KHOP.
Yes. No, actually not. Too bad.
You've been up to so many different things.
Yes.
I mean, moving from Colombia to Guadalajara might be the sort of the obvious answer to this, but is there anything that you took up during the pandemic that you weren't doing before?
It was, I kind of got, they have a service across Latin America called Rappi, which is Uber Eats and delivery on steroids. So I would walk my dog a lot, and then I went back into the old coping mechanism of food. It was, the quarantine was hard, savage, and lonely between the homeless guys. I had one homeless guy who lost his arm to the narcos and was a wood carver who was kind of my buddy, and I would invite him in and cook for him. So coffee and cooking and domestic arts were what I had limited. It kind of did put a kink in a lot of the creativity other than the art direction, but I find kind of getting over that now.
Yeah, that's great. I am feeling this emergence happening, and I wonder, people are sort of, musing that we'll see, the Roaring 20s take place now, which, happened after the last pandemic. And I don't know that I'm seeing signs of that quite yet, but I know that the creative people I know are feeling their gears turning because they're able to, play live music again and put, art galleries are opening again.
It's starting to come back. There's author Sebastian Junger wrote a book called Tribe, and one of the things he laments in that is that we don't have rites of passage anymore, definitive things where you are defined by everyone as a valued asset in the society. So for me, I want to treat anyone that survived this pandemic deserves my respect.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I read that book a long time ago, and I didn't even think about that rite of passage. That's I'm trying to think of if we went through a rite of passage or not. I mean, our generation is.
Yeah, not really so much, but if you survive the pandemic, you're in for me,
For sure. I mean, for years, the boomers still sort of looked down their nose at us because we didn't have our own Vietnam. And I sort of feel like surviving the boomers is maybe our rite of passage.
Yeah.
Whoa. That's
You guys don't have, maybe Marnie did, but Mike, you seem to be fortunate enough to have avoided working for a boomer boss. Maybe that's not the case, but it's been my whole career.
But not for a long term, no.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the worst. Let me see here if there's any other comments that we can read here. Qualseth says he still has mixtapes that you made for him, Mike. The Cramps, the Addicts, etc. There's a lot that falls under etc. there, I would imagine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I wouldn't eat lunch a lot of days, so I could go and get records.
Where?
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, my favorite place I still remember was Garage Door. There was Cheapo. There was Northern Lights. There was Orfolk. Electric Fetus. Are some of the. And then sneaking into concerts was a big thing too, and trying to get in for sound check.
Oh.
And what kind of concerts did you sneak into?
Let's see. I was lucky to get into a Jane's Addiction, Well, with Matt doing the music magazine, we always had it in. So I got to see Jane's Addiction, the Beat Farmers, Mojo Nixon, all the local bands. I mean, we were kind of in the post-Husker Du, the Replacements, the local scene was really burgeoning. I remember being really obsessed with the Wallets for a long time.
Yes.
Oh,
They
were
played
good.
that at one of our dances, right? The Wallets?
Homecoming.
North, maybe? No?
No.
Homecoming senior year.
Seriously? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that guy passed away not long ago. I forget
Yeah,
his name
Steve
now.
Kramer.
Yeah. But yeah, I just looked them up on YouTube just the other day because I was, again, trying to sort of remind myself, like, there really was this kind of wonderfully weird rock band that achieved a pretty good level of success with an accordionist and weird songs and stuff. But
Yeah, the Blue Hippos were a particular favorite. Otto's Chemical Lounge, the Dig, and the local record labels. It was a good time. I miss the record store with non-obnoxious employees because there's nothing as bad as the obnoxious record store employee.
right.
The good place where they're your
You
buddies.
didn't mention one of the, Mike, you didn't mention one of the most important record stores down in the valley.
Oh yeah, I would go there sometimes too. Kyle and Dave Graves took that over later. Or is that my okay? Yeah.
Well, you read about all these bands that got formed at like Orfolk, especially. And I was not a regular at Orfolk, but I did go there on occasion and sort of think now, like, man, if I would have stood around and looked around, I always felt a little intimidated in there, but if you looked around a little bit, who knows who you would have seen that made a real impact on the scene.
Yeah, I mean, there was, with the changes in taxation and the level of spending going up, we really kind of had a lot of resources going into the creative economy, and it wasn't all so corporate. So for culture, if we could bring some of that back, that would be really great.
For sure. I mean, I feel proud of the fact that we, for all the homecoming dance, and it seemed sort of like a regular thing at the time, right? But every homecoming dance we had the suburbs twice and the Wallets a third time. But we had ipso facto, they were in at a dance. And bands like that would, when they played at the Uptown, they made a couple $100. When they played at Hopkins High School, they made $1,500. So that it was playing those dances that kept those guys in music, I think, and allowed them to do the tours and stuff. So, we were the Habsburgs. We supported the Renaissance. It was great.
Well, Mike, we are coming to the end of the show. There's so many things we didn't touch upon. Is there any topic you want to address before I?
Well, I don't know. I feel like drone stories are popular, and he was a good friend. I miss him terribly. He was gonna come. He's a character in the book, and was gonna come on the book tour with me. His dad used to sell vintage cars, and he had even given one to Wheel of Fortune at one point. So we're going to have Drone dressed as a cop and travel in a vintage car across the American West, but he passed away, and I still miss him. But he's a police officer in the book, and he was playing that character during the book readings we were planning.
Do you remember? Were you friends with him at North?
I don't know. I think he was West with the Golden Valley people, wasn't he? Oh no. We really kind of came into age in high school, getting to know each other. He pursued me for the football team, and one of the many times we almost killed each other through music. I had agreed, and we were in the weight room, and I had made this mixtape of really irritating 50s novelty records of my dad's. It's like the exact sort of music you would not use to pump yourself up in an 80s weight room. And one guy took a mini barbell and threw it and smashed the boombox. I was irritating him so bad. And that was the point that Drone was like, well, maybe football isn't the thing for you.
One of the lines from high school that I remember clearly is a few of us on the cross country skiing team were in the weight room lifting weights one time, which
Mhm.
was a ridiculous thing in and of itself. And Paul Beneke was there. And he turns to me at one point and he's like, do they play anything other than anthems in here? It was just like one arena rock band after the other, pumping those guys up. But that's amazing.
Yeah, the other
Drone,
time,
yeah.
one of the two other times music almost got Steve Drone and I killed was we went to visit Jim Sexton at St. Cloud State, and the
Okay.
jukebox only had hair metal and country music, except for one record, which was the Fat Boys doing the twist. So I was so annoyed by everyone else's music. I got a roll of quarters and fed it in and would play the A side of Chubby Checker and the Fat Boys do the twist. And then the B side was an instrumental remix of Chubby Checker and the Fat Boys do the twist. So a whole row of quarters that amounted to over 100 plays of these two songs was in. And then they fought, and Jerome and I were playing pool, and I couldn't keep the secret very long. And I kept getting more into it using my pool cue like a tap cane and dancing all around the table. And then the guys were going to beat me up, but I had Drone with me, and so they decided just to unplug the jukebox.
And what was the other time music almost got you killed?
Let's see, that was in the Mega Mall. There was a karaoke studio, All Star Karaoke Studios.
Yeah.
And Steve and I had this idea that we were going to be the world's worst karaoke band. And we would just scream the lyrics and do kung fu moves and jump around like maniacs. So it was quite a visual and auditory assault. And we did Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA, just screaming it out with tears in our eyes. And people were so angry at us at the end. And then he headbutted me into the wall of the studio, and I passed out for a minute. But but we got out of the Mega Mall pretty fast, where he was protecting me again. I miss that guy so much, so much.
Yeah. We have a great question, and we haven't asked this question nearly enough. But Chad Alt asks, what if you had a job during high school? He remembers working in some capacity near you at Knollwood Mall. Is that accurate?
I worked at movie theaters were a big thing for a long time. So I worked at the movie theater in Knollwood Mall for about a year before I went to London. But most of the high school jobs were at helping out at my dad and my uncle's hardware stores.
Oh, Hance.
Yeah,
I
Hance
never
Hardware.
put that together until now. Hance Hardware.
Yeah,
huh?
my dad had the one where in Minnetonka Mills, where Lunds became Byerly's. We had one there. We sold them the property, and then he had one which is now an Irish restaurant in Excelsior. But my uncle's children have continued on the tradition. I don't think I was really cut out for hardware retailer.
No.
Oh God, that reminds me of another drone story. Oh crap. Uh-oh. I gotta do it. I'm sorry.
You got to do it.
I
Bring
apologize,
it.
Marty. But I had a VHS tape of the Our Own Hardware instructional series, How to Merchandise Screws. And the guy in the monotone voice, you'll be excited by the rainbow of screws available at Our Own Hardware. We've got Phillips, we've got flatheads, we've got round heads, we've got a miracle rain of screws for every customer. And it goes on like this for an hour. So I have this tape, and for a week I hyped this up to Steve Drone and Kavalseth, that I've got this amazing tape from my uncle. It's not even legal for me to show you. And I put in this tape, and it's not only bad, not even good bad, it's just infuriating, like you need to get out of the flames of hell bad. And so I couldn't hold Drone down, but he wanted to go out with the football team that night, and he's like, Hance, damn you, I wasn't gonna have a good time tonight. And he yelled at me and stormed out of the basement while I was able to make Kavalseth suffer for about 3 more minutes. But a week later, he comes up to me and he's like, Mike, we got to show that screw tape to Chad Acker. And so he and I sat on Chad Acker's arms for 20 minutes while he watched the screw merchandising tape. And he was literally crying because it's so awful.
Oh, God. That's so amazing.
Yeah.
There are these, have you ever heard of the Found Footage Festival?
A little bit. I was what's the other group? Oh, Everything is terrible. They're kind of, they
Oh,
came
yeah.
out of that, and
Yeah.
I've gone to a couple of their shows, and I really enjoy that. And I watched the Winnebago Man documentary, which is also kind of from the Found Footage Festival.
Yeah.
As well. I like the spirit of that for sure.
It's so fun. It's such a great, that's a communal thing when you go to one of those shows and you're sitting in the theater just crying, laughing at these awful tapes. The screw tape would fit right in there. That would
Oh
be,
yeah, or the Spike and Mike Sick and Twisted animation
Yeah.
festivals.
Yeah,
Oh, those are
right.
a blast. Oh my God, I miss those sorts of things so much.
I'm definitely gonna Google the screw tape when we get off.
I might even still have a copy in Betamax somewhere in the States.
Yeah, see, people need to put these on the internet so that all of us can be horrified together.
Oh yeah, it was still, but so all right, okay, I'm gonna try and be an adult. I feel like we could go for another hour, but
That's one. No, it's wonderful. Well, I can tell everyone about a few more shows that we have booked
Yes.
next
Work it
week.
more.
June 1st, Ted Shorgren.
Sjogren.
June 8th, Joel Murphy. And I'm excited about Joel Murphy because he's a trucker. And so we haven't actually interviewed someone who's a trucker. So that'll be cool. June 15th, Jason's going to be on his own because I'm going to be driving my 4 cats and teenager to Oregon in a car. Linda Schneewin and Carrie Silvernagel. I have,
I'm gonna need a guest host for that.
yeah,
partner.
July 20th, we have booked Todd Finn. And so the June dates, get ready, everyone, to volunteer for June, a few June dates.
What we need actually, you know what because now Marnie, you've been promising the dance line reunion. You need to deliver on that.
I'm working on it, actually have an update on that.
Okay.
I have reconnected with Andrea Haskvitz, who was the co-captain and one of my best girlfriends in elementary and middle school. She doesn't know, I'm just waiting. She doesn't know that I'm going to ask her to do it.
Okay. You got to lay the groundwork.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like what we need are some more groups, some more group shows. So maybe we'll try to put together a choir group or something like that because we need to track down some of these people like Aaron Larson and the other people in the Madrigals. Brad Lovelace, that name came to me out of nowhere just now.
Yeah. Or band had some great personalities in it too.
Yes. Right. We've had a lot of bandies on, but we need more. So, okay,
well,
good.
Everyone's coming on, but I really have enjoyed reconnecting with you, Mike. There's so much more that we can chat about later after the show. I really appreciate your willingness to do this with us. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's not let it be 30 years again.
Right. Keep us updated on your book, Mike.
All right, I will. Thank you very much, guys.
Take care, everybody. See you next week.
Be safe.
Aloha.
Bye.